Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Celtic Way. I am your host, John McGinley. I'm joined by Ryan McGinley live from Hampden. We are here to talk about the big match. It's here. Celtic are going for a treble. They're going for a sixth treble in the last decade or so. Brendan Rodgers has had this team firing all season. This is the last final mission. Ryan, I'm going to get your thoughts in a minute. I'm going to take everyone through the team news. But first, we've got an announcement. We've got a new sponsor. We're pleased to announce that Seneca Medical Group, #1 hair transplantation clinic in the UK, are the new sponsors of the Celtic Way until the end of the 2025-26 season. It's great news for us. It helps us out. It helps the channel. It helps the website. It's fantastic to have their backing for the next year or so, and we're delighted to have them. They have clinics in Glasgow, Edinburgh and Aberdeen, so if that sounds like the kind of thing for you, then you can check out their tags in the video description below and on our socials. But Ryan, we're here to talk about Celtic, we're here to talk the team news, and here it is. Kasper Schmeichel in goal, Greg Taylor, Liam Scales, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Alistair Johnston, Callum McGregor, Arne Engels, Paulo Bernardo, Nicholas Kuhn, Adam Ida, Daisen Maeda. The substitutes are Sinisalo, Austin Trusty Yang, Luke McCowan, Jeffrey Schlupp, Johnny Kenny, James Forrest and Anthony Ralston. It's about the team we were expecting, Ryan. There was a couple of kind of marginal calls there, Nicholas Kuhn or James Forrest, Paulo Bernardo, Luke McCowan. It seems like Brendan Rodgers probably gone with the safest option in both.
Yeah, absolutely. Nine positions I think were already spoken for out of 11. The only ones I would say were really up for any real contention was that spot in midfield due to Hatate's injury, and if you were either going to play James Forrest or Nicholas Kuhn out on the right-hand side. But apart from that, and it's a bit of a manager's dream, the team sort of picks itself apart from those two positions, which is great going into a final. These players are ready. They've delivered on multiple fronts this season. This is the final hurdle that they've got to overcome. They've got to get this to win the treble, to achieve the treble. That's got to be the aim today. Just get it done and try and do it in style as well, if possible.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be looking at that right wing slot and be thinking about James Forrest potentially coming in. He was very good at Pittodrie. He was very good last week, obviously riding the high of getting his goal. But Rodgers has also said he doesn't go on sentiment. He doesn't go on that kind of thing. Nicholas Kuhn has obviously been the prime pick for the majority of the season, and Brendan Rodgers is going with what he thinks are his prime starting 11 as everyone is fit right now. So I understand why people might be upset James Forrest isn't starting, but Nicholas Kuhn knows how to do it on this stage too, and it's always there. And managers always talk about this, Ryan, but it's a squad game, isn't it? And people are going to be, coming into this game in the second half. James Forrest will be coming off the bench to try and make an impact in this game. Luke McCowan as well. So that's a factor as well, especially in a game that could go to extra time.
Yeah, I think it's a game that suits Nicholas Kuhn. The bigger pitch, the big stadium, the National Stadium. It's a big game. More often than not, Nicholas Kuhn has delivered in the big games this season. He's delivered at Hampden this season as well, so I would expect him to do the same. He's a player that's had up and down form, I would say, this season. The first half of the season he was electric, maybe a shoe-in player of the year. He's had some good games in the second half of the season, but it's been more mixed, and it's allowed Daisen Maeda to really take up that mantle of being Celtic's talisman up front. Alongside Adam Ida, who scored some important goals as well. It was a big day for him today. I think there has been a little bit of negativity surrounding his performances in the second half of the season. You can evaporate all of that by playing well at Hampden, by making yourself a nuisance at Hampden against Aberdeen. If you can do that, then I think the whole narrative about him, around him or surrounding him, changes today. I'm expecting a big performance from Nicholas Kuhn, and we all know that he's capable of doing it.
Yeah, on Adam Ida, interesting, he was talking this week in the build-up to the final, I think it was with Premier Sports, where he said, when he was going through that little bit of a goalless run or that little bit of a drought and there were question marks, how important Brendan Rodgers was to him and his confidence. He said he made him feel like the best striker in the world, and having that backing of the manager has been critical throughout. And look, Adam Ida scored 20 goals this season. He was the man who came up with the pivotal moment in last year's final against Rangers. We know what he can do on the stage, and really it's about putting it all together. And I like Daisen Maeda on the left flank. I think that gives Celtic a lot of industry, and it gives Celtic more strength on the left flank. He can support Greg Taylor and Liam Scales on that side of the pitch, which, if you look at the team as a whole, is arguably still the weakness defensively. But I like having Daisameda there to have that support, and hopefully that pans out over the 90 minutes too.
Yeah, and much like Nicholas Kuhn, I think that Adamida's turned up at Hampden games. You know, you think about last season, of course, the goal that he scored against Rangers in the last minute of the Scottish Cup Final, but not just that, pivotal penalties against the likes of Rangers in the League Cup Final. I think he went up to take the first penalty against Aberdeen in the semi-final last year as well. So he's a character. He's clearly not scared of the big occasion when things are expected of him. He turns up, and I expect the same today. You know, it's been an up and down season for him, but you know the proof is in the pudding. 20 goals this season. It's his highest goal scoring tally. You've got to remember as well, this is his first season where he would really be expected to play the amount of games that he has, because he was in and out of the Norwich team throughout his Norwich career. He went to Celtic in the second half of the season, but I'm expecting big things from him both today and next season. You know, he's a player that's developing under Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers is clearly a very good man manager. We've heard that from multiple sources. Now you look at Matt O'Reilly. 2 weeks in to Brendan Rodgers' tenure, he was saying how much he enjoyed working under Brendan Rodgers, but how he made the players feel. This is yet another player that's come in saying that he felt like the best striker in the world when listening to Brendan Rodgers. That man management is a completely different style from Ange Postecoglou, the predecessor, but I think it's a welcomed one. And it just shows you that different styles can work in management, and it clearly works for the players like Matt O'Reilly, who's since departed, and Adamida.
Yeah, the Matt O'Reilly example is a good one. He did talk about that a lot, actually, and the difference in style and how that helped his game. So, listen, you're at Hampden, Ryan. How's the build-up? How's the atmosphere around the stadium, outside, and the weather outside? You said it was raining just before we came on.
Yes, absolutely. I wasn't sure what sort of weather it was going to be in terms of an outfit for this afternoon. Didn't know if it was going to be warm or cold. We're kind of in between.
You don't have your shades on today, Ryan?
I don't know. I'm also indoors as well, so I don't want to look like an egomaniac. But it's a rainy day. You know, the weather's been so good the past 2 weeks that it seems as if the weather's gone now, and it's a rainy day at Hampden. I think that can suit the game as well. Having a wet surface can only suit Celtic in the way that they want to play the ball on the deck. You know, passes, mistakes can happen, of course, but you would fancy Celtic on that surface. It's going to be a perfect condition. And I just think everything's suiting Celtic this afternoon. They know what they've got to do. They've had the better of Aberdeen in a lot of games this season. I would say that it's a one-off game and anything can happen in these ties. You know, drama can happen, unforeseen events can happen in these games. But if it goes to the two teams playing their best football, then Celtic should come out on top, because they've been so good this season. But yeah,
I agree.
In terms of the atmosphere, I think it's just building, it's rising and rising. It's a really busy media room as well. It's a cup final, that's what you would expect. But I think the decibels will continue to rise until kick-off. Looking forward to seeing the two tifos as well, one from the Aberdeen side and the two from Celtic side as well. We know the Green Brigade have been in dialogue with the supporters in the previous couple of days. So should be a really good atmosphere.
I think the atmosphere will be good. I think that will add to the tension of the match. You know, I do agree everything is kind of moving towards Celtic's direction. I think this is going to be a tight game, though. I'm not thinking Celtic are going to blow away Aberdeen here. And that some might consider that a bit strange, thinking that, considering the form Aberdeen are in, which isn't great, considering some of the goals that Celtic have put past Aberdeen this season. I just feel on this occasion, with so much at stake and this sense of history pushing for a treble, I'd be surprised, I'd be delighted to see Celtic produce a swashbuckling display that really blows Aberdeen away. But I just think this is going to be a little bit tighter than maybe a lot of people are expecting. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's sometimes how finals go. It's really about stepping up in your big moments and taking the chances that come your way. And like you're kind of alluded to, I back Celtic to do that, more consistently and more clinically than Aberdeen.
Yeah, and you back this manager as well. Look at his record at Hampden. He's unbeaten at Hampden. This has been a happy hunting ground for Brendan Rodgers, when that wasn't necessarily the case under his predecessors. I remember coming even as a supporter and going to games, and there would be difficult games against the likes of St Mirren, Kilmarnock, Hearts, etc. So it's been a happy hunting ground for Brendan Rodgers since he's arrived at Celtic. He obviously went away and came back, and he's kept up with that imperious form at the National Stadium, and you're hoping that continues. That's why you've got belief in this side, because the track record shows, both against Aberdeen and against teams in general at Hampden. Brendan Rodgers' teams tend to get the upper hand over their opponents.
I think Aberdeen's weakness really has been linking possession from their press, winning back, territory and the ball and being very wasteful with their possession. That's what I've noticed against Celtic this season. And again, it's up to Celtic to counteract that and have that counter press ongoing and really be physical and get in Aberdeen's faces, because I don't think Aberdeen particularly cope well with that. I think Celtic have the chance to make it uncomfortable for Aberdeen when the Dons do have the ball. And that's something you would want to see from Celtic as well. That's imperative. It goes without saying, but the players need to be really aggressive and into this game right from the start, because we've seen in these games before, if a team gets an early goal, it can go a different way. So I'm just hoping that Celtic have that bit between their teeth just immediately.
For me, I just want Celtic to control the narrative this afternoon, control the game from start to finish. Don't allow it to become a firefight as it did last season, and that 3-each draw that eventually went to penalties. That was a crazy game between Aberdeen and Celtic. We don't want similar if we can help it this afternoon. If they can do that, if Celtic can control the narrative, I think they'll be fine today. But if they allow themselves to get dragged into the occasion without treating it as just like any other fixture, then problems could arise. But I expect this team to do well, because they've done it before at the National Stadium. They've done it before against Aberdeen this season. I think if they play their best football, they should be okay this afternoon. But it's a one-off game and anything can happen.
Here's the team again, folks, if you've missed it. Schmeichel, Taylor, Scales, Carter Vickers, Johnston, McGregor, who, like Brendan Rodgers, has never lost one of these matches at Hampden, one of these finals. Paulo Bernardo, favoured over Luke McCowan, and it's Arnie Engels in another midfield slot, and then it's Nicholas Kuhn, Adam Ida and Dyson Maeda up top. Ryan, what's your score prediction here? We'll get some predictions from the chat if anyone wants to leave them.
I'm going to be a tad conservative. I think it's going to be a tight game. I agree with you, John. I think it's a cup final. I would love it to be, an emphatic scoreline for Celtic in Celtic's favour, but it's a cup final, and more often than not, you see these games becoming tight affairs that are either decidedly on or they're tight throughout, and then one team pulls away at the end. I'm going to go for 2-0 Celtic. I think Celtic will get the job done. They'll keep a clean sheet because they've got all their best players out on the pitch. They've got attackers that can score goals, that have scored goals at Hampden, even this season, even against this opposition this season. I know the circumstances were a little bit different then to what they are now, but I just expect this team to come out the traps. I expect Aberdeen to come out the traps as well, because it's a cup final, and they'll be up for it. But I think it'll be 2-0 to Celtic.
I don't want to make anyone too nervous in the build-up to this, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 scoreline for Celtic. I think there's a goal in this for Aberdeen somewhere, just with the nature. Sometimes the chaotic natures of final just sometimes plays out like that. I'm going to bring in some predictions from the chat now. We've got Hazel saying still thinking Celtic 3-0. Natalie McMillan going for 4-0. David saying Aberdeen have been abysmal all season, but I have a feeling it'll be tight. I can only feel a Celtic victory, however, it'll be 2-0. Aberdeen won't score. Big Dom saying just the odd goal in it. We've got more. Mark McQueen saying Celtic 3, Aberdeen 1. Dennis Jameson going for the 2-0 Celtic. David going, think Aberdeen scored 2-1. So there are lots of different views. I think the main thrust I'm getting from supporters is that there's confidence here, and the expectation is there that Celtic will go and win another treble. Brendan Rodgers' third treble, the first manager in Celtic's history to have ever done that if he achieves it. It'd be a fantastic occasion if that transpires. Ryan.
When Brendan Rodgers returned to the club a couple of years back now, nearly 2 years ago now, I can't believe how quickly it's gone since he's returned. Ange Postecoglou's departure and then Brendan Rodgers coming back to the club. Can't believe it's nearly been 2 years. But what I'm saying is, I felt that he was coming back for legacy, and he spoke about legacy as well. I'm glad that he's sort of vindicated what I've been saying. He wasn't coming back just to win more trophies and just do the job and then go back down south. He might still go back down south, but I think it's all about legacy. The way that he left Celtic halfway through the 2019 season really left a bitter taste in a lot of supporters' mouths. I think he's going a long way right now to sort of changing that narrative, changing the public opinion of him. He can go even further today with securing another treble, his third treble. Yes, he played a big part in the one that Neil Lennon finished off with the treble. So you can attribute some of that to him as well. In terms of his own work, to do 3 would be incredible. I mean, he already is, to me, a Celtic legend, but I think he'd be even more so if he was to do that today.
That's what's at stake today, folks. Listen, we're going to be back after the game. We don't know what kind of time that'll be. Obviously, if Celtic do win today, there'll be a trophy left and all that, and then there'll be press conferences and media events, and Ryan's there in the press box. He will be speaking to players after the game, win or lose. Tony's also at Hampden, and he'll be speaking to Brendan Rodgers, win or lose. So we'll have all the reaction from that, and we'll be speaking to Ryan later on this afternoon. If you're wanting a bit more pre-match build-up, you can check out a video we've got with former Celtic manager and Celtic icon Martin O'Neill on the channel. I did an interview with him in the build-up to the Cup Final. If you haven't seen that yet, that might be worth a wee watch if you're not fancying the TV coverage. A half-hour chat with Martin O'Neill about his legacy and his thoughts on Celtic. Nothing better than that. So do check that out if you haven't already. And as I say, we'll be back after the game. I'm excited. Ryan, any last thoughts just before we head?
Yeah, I just think it's a big game for so many players that haven't completed their first treble, if they are to complete their first treble this afternoon. I think that's what keeps it. You've got these guys like James Forrest and Carl McGregor who are used to winning trebles with Celtic, used to winning titles and individual trophies. There are so many players in that team that haven't won a treble before for Celtic. Even players that are on the bench, like Yang. You've got Paulo Bernardo, who hasn't won a treble. Arne Engels, who's just came to the club last summer. Luke McCowan. So there'll be plenty of hunger in that team to go out and do the business because they want to taste that treble. They want to be treble winners as well. They want that next to their name when people talk about them in the years to come. I think that's what's at stake. So fingers crossed they can do that this afternoon.
Yeah, we're about to find out. Thanks everyone for joining us live. Thanks if you're watching us after we've been live and you're joining us in the comments below. We do enjoy hearing from you and we enjoy seeing all your comments. We'll be back after the game. Let's see what happens. Goodbye.
Cheers, guys.